See, this is what frustrates me about the education system. It's like they teach you how to be a good worker, quote unquote slave.
All right, so we wanted to talk about what does it mean to be a man?
Mm-hmm.
So I am married, but I don't have kids. Tyler is married and he does have kids. I think we can give a little bit different perspective, but for the audience that's listening, whether you're male or female, before we start talking about this, what do you really think men are supposed to do as being masculine, not being this pussy snowflake thing that politics is pushing? Like when you're in trouble,
Mm-hmm.
what are you thinking the man is supposed to do? So um,
Yeah.
I'll let you take it off. I mean, just in a general sense, what does it mean
Well,
to you to be a man?
it's I this for me it's a question of like to get the topic going is like what is a man? Is a man when you go off to war? Are you a man officially when you move out of your parents' house? Are you a man officially when you have kids? Are you a man officially when you have a job? Are you a man when you officially buy your first house? Like when is it when you go from okay, I'm not a boy anymore, I'm a man? Because you see all these, especially today, everybody's like, I'm 18, I'm a man, right? But it's like, no, bro, you're not a man. Like you're still living on your parents' roof, and they're paying like half your bills.
I,
Like
I remember having quite a few conversations with my dad around that time.
right,
Yeah,
like and I think we all kind of go through that stage.
yeah.
But if you think about it, who decides this thought process of you're a man now? Where does it come from? Is it a Western civilization thing where we say, well, you're a man when you provide for yourself? I would argue um, it's hard because a lot of people will say it's well when you're taking care of someone else who's relying on you other than yourself. But not what if there's someone out there who just lives by themselves their whole life, but they could be considered a man because they're prospering and doing well. Like what is a man?
Yeah, and there's
You see what I'm saying?
other ways to take care of different people other than what would be considered quote unquote manly
Yeah,
things to do as well.
100%. It's like, so like, I wanted to get the thought of when do you think
Yeah.
you become a man?
So, if I were to try to like dig super deep and where did this thought process come from? Well, just keep going back in time, keep going back in time, and eventually you get to, you know, tribal times or nomad times, and you have, in general, I'm not going to say all cases because I think like Amazonians, and maybe some other tribes did things a little differently, but in general, it seemed like men would go out to hunt and then eventually would go out to war. But if you just go back to like the tribal times, men would go out to hunt and then usually bring the beast back, or if the beast is dead, then
Mm-hmm.
usually it's um, uh, prepped for food consumption by the women. So it's like and
Yeah.
so fast forward to time now, probably when our parents were young in their life, the man worked, the woman stayed home. In general, and that's just how it was. It was feasible. It was, you had the wife that took care of, most things, and maybe she did do something to make money, and maybe some of them did get jobs too. But in general, it's a like a one income kind of household thing. And nowadays, we're kind of forced to have two incomes. If you have one income, good luck. That's all I gotta say. But for today, what is being a man? Because we don't have, let's go hunt this elephant. We don't have. Um, it's not very feasible to be a single income. Did you get it?
No, I'm trying.
It's not very feasible to be a single income household anymore.
Yeah.
So what are scenarios that, you know, when you're showing that you're doing something manly. So, if I'm doing Spartan races and there's the 200-pound tire and the 400-pound tire, I think that's the numbers. I don't remember exactly, but I felt manly, and I'll always remember this. I felt manly when I see two guys trying to lift the heavy tire together, and they were struggling, and I go up and just raw dog it and just flip that bitch over, and it slams. And I was lucky. I can't remember if my wife or my mom took pictures that time. It might have been my wife. I don't know. But when the tire slammed, there was like dust that flew, and like I just felt like a behemoth in that moment in time, and I'll always remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's other times where let's say there's an active shooter. I would say, being a man in that situation, usually you would run towards danger than run away from it. And that's kind of what's expected for any real male nowadays. There's a lot of progressivism movement where it's okay to cry, and I do agree with all that kind of stuff. But if to be a true man, you have to be the one that steps up when the times are tough in physical scenarios, favoring the weak.
Sure, but you're talking about being a man in a moment, and that's good. But I'm saying, when do you justify yourself as a man for eternity, basically?
Yeah, I mean that.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So
Everybody can pretend to be a man.
well,
You show face.
I don't think those things are
Well,
pretending.
no, I'm
It's
not
just-
saying I'm not saying
yeah.
it's pretending, but I'm saying we can
So,
all
you
do
know.
manly things, traits. But
So when is becoming a man then? So
Yes.
when you get your girlfriend and you the first time happens, or is it you can pay for things yourself?
Drink your first beer. I'm just saying, dude.
Go go get cigarettes and share them with the boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's
It's like I said, it's a tough question. It's like no one has.
I would say, and maybe this is just certain biases or whatever, but I would say
Mm-hmm.
being a man means that you're providing for somebody else in your life and eventually offspring, in a way that in a way that it gives you a feeling that of accomplishment, that it's something that like you were meant to do, and everything else has been kind of joker stuff until those points.
Yeah. Look, it's not complaining, right? I have a buddy, good friend. His dad, he works. He works 7 days a week. That's his life. He doesn't make greatest money, but they live in an apartment complex. They get a discount on their apartment because the 2 days on the weekend he does like the stuff around the property, like the keeping up on the property and stuff. So this guy's constantly working, and 7 days a week, takes care of them. They have they don't have much, but what they have is cherished. It's beautiful, and he's a man, right? Like I think about like that's a man, taking care of his family. But it's just the question of like answering like when do you become a man is like I do agree with you, like it's like when you're caring for someone more than yourself, and you're providing for someone, when someone's relying on you, you're 100% right, like that, then you're a man. Or you're and then also it's like when you're taking care of yourself first, like when you're off your mommy and daddy's bills, obviously like you can't be a man if you're still relying on your parents. That's not a man.
I mean, I guess it just depends on the perspective of what does man mean to
Exactly.
whoever, right?
And that's
So,
what I'm trying to figure out.
if man being a man means that you can pay your own bills. I mean, okay, well, there's a lot of men out there, but a lot of probably garbage, along with that.
or they're not mature.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying like it's hard to say when do you become a man, because like you said, you could live by yourself and then not be living on your parents and paying for your own bills, but still be super immature. Like, dude, that guy's still a kid. Like, he doesn't know anything. And I met dudes younger than me who are more mature than dudes older than me.
Yeah, I've always felt like I've had a really young and playful personality, which
Mm.
when people see me, and sometimes I'm sure I give off this energy, but when people see me, when they don't know me,
Mm.
they definitely can be intimidated. And I don't say that to like boast or peacock. Like, it just happens. Actually, it happens more than I would like it to, because generally people take what I say as like being really blunt and too abrasive.
Mm.
And I don't always mean it, or most of the times I don't mean it in those ways. But thinking about just acts of, I guess, acts of service that, thinking about like things that my dad has done.
Mm.
So he, if anybody is familiar with California, the Valley and the Bay, you have a shitty commute. And my dad did that commute for, I don't know, 30 years or something, somewhere in there. And, you know, uh, it's just always been what he's done. And I'm, just being a kid growing up, just used to it. And there's been things here or there with my mom and dad that, things happen, no relationship's perfect. And, from commutes and maybe drinking and stuff. But like, it didn't really click for me how much of a sacrifice that was for the family until I started to commute. Like, I knew the commute was shitty,
Mm.
but when I started to do that commute, I actually told him, like, Dad, that how you've sacrificed for us is insane. And like, now I see like
Yeah.
how bad this is.
Yeah.
And quickly I changed jobs. Like,
Yeah.
that's, as in construction, I didn't really have a direction in life. I had a job to make money in construction. You can make pretty decent money for not knowing shit, pretty much. But yeah, I changed. I got some certifications and went to the Valley for work. But yeah, no, things like that where it's just, and yeah, he's making more money working in the Bay and that kind of stuff. But it's not all about money, and the time that you lose. That's something that I learned really quickly. Is like, and I'm not saying like I wish anything had changed, because we are who we are because of where we've been, right?
Yeah.
But the amount of time he had to sacrifice to provide for the family, kind of a thing, is pretty insane.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just it's it's like until you fill someone's shoes, you don't really understand.
Mm-hmm.
And when they say like even like, especially like I have a son, and I'm sure when he grows up in high school, hopefully not, but he'll probably get to a point where he's gonna rebel and hate me or whatever because I'm gonna be stern or whatever. But
You just don't get it, Dad.
yeah,
You just don't get it.
until he gets old enough where he's like, oh, that's why he did that, or that's why he said that, well, that's why he did that, right?
Yeah.
And that's when it hit, like kind of like your experience with driving, like it's like one of those things you just have to go through life.
Have you had something like that with your dad?
Well, no, it's different for me because I only met my dad. I've only met my dad 3 times in my whole life. Yeah, so
I knew there was
Yeah.
shenanigans. I didn't realize it's quite like that.
yeah, like literally 3 times. The last time I met him was right out of high school, I think. Yeah. Yeah.
Can we talk about
Yeah,
why you've only seen him that many times?
Well, he's a horrible dude. Cause so basically he was doing like mail fraud, supposedly, and then he got locked up or something happened, and then yeah, like, and then my mom. So he's always kind of been a bad dude, kind of like just, for whatever reason was just a POS, but it was shitty because I think every boy goes through this in their life, especially like someone who doesn't grow up with their dad, where it's like, even though my mom told me, oh, your dad's a bad guy, or you should like don't go around him. Everybody wants to know their dad, especially a boy. So I seeked him out to meet him, and then I find out that he's like living here in town, and he's living on a like an old person like lot with trailers, and he's like the maintenance guy doing all the maintenance for his old ladies. Come to find out, basically, like he was talking this big game when I first met him. He's like, "Yeah, look, like I got this. I can take you here." Like basically, like kind of pumping himself up. Like I got all this money. Like you can have this too. I was like, all right, whatever. You know, I just wanted to meet my dad, know my dad, and I was so young and vulnerable. And so I started like very early. I wanted to like work with him. So I like probably like 2 weekends in a row. I did work for him, like construction work around the properties. I kind of seeing like how he acted and stuff, and he was supposed to pay me and he never paid me. So like yeah, like he's like, and I'm like his son. Like I'm like and anyway, so it went bad. And like after I brought up like, hey, you gonna pay me and stuff like for working with you, dude? Like what's going on? Like, and he basically didn't want to pay me. So screwed up, dude. I left my backpack. So I had this backpack. I take to his house, like change whatever. Left it at his house, like at his little trailer, little house thing he had, and I left it there. And I texted him like, hey, like we basically stopped talking. Like this dude like cut me off. I'm like, hey man, like I left my backpack at your house. Can I need to come get it. He's like, okay, come. Like he's like, yeah, come get it. So my dad is like prison, like big dude, bro. And he's sitting on the phone. He's sitting there and he's smoking a cigarette on the like little porch thing he had, and he's like looking at his phone. He won't even look at me in my backpack, dude. I pick it up and it smelled like kitty litter. Like he basically like rubbed my backpack in kitty litter shit and all that. Like yeah, dude. And like I'm like,
Jesus.
all right, this fucking guy. Like so I've never talked to him again. He's a horrible guy. So that's why I think this topic's interesting for me because again, like I never grew up with a father, so I did have like father figures in my life, but I would say they were never the best. They were like uncles, and they had their own families, and life goes on.
Yeah.
And my mom she never made a lot of money, and I house jumped a lot growing up. And like sometimes I'd be living with my mom, sometimes not. 'Cause my mom was always like I feel like she was kind of always like chasing men. So that was always bad. So, but anyways, that's why I think this conversation is interesting for me.
So, for what you know about your dad,
Yeah,
is he a man?
I'd say no.
How come?
I would say, I would say you can't be a man if you disown something you create. Like if you have a child, I think that's your because men would take responsibility for their actions. I think that's being a real man. If you create, say, a child, and you disown the child, and I'm not saying this because it's my dad and it affected me, because like honestly, no, I never really think about it, and I never realized how much I guess it affected like how crazy of a life I had until I met my wife, and she kind of like said, yeah, like you had a crazy life. I never thought about it. To me, it was just normal.
Yeah. Well, it's per perception or perspective. I mean,
Yeah,
you only know what you know.
until you experience other things in life, then you. But
Yeah.
what I'm getting at is like how he treated me and how he disowned me, and then seeing that he was like basically scamming old ladies on top of that made him not a man. But I think the key thing is like he had a responsibility to be a father, and he disowned that. And that's like, yeah, like, well, you're not a man, because if you have a child, any father or mother should fight for their child to be in their child's life, no matter
Yeah.
what.
Yeah. I used to, and first off, I guess for you and for the audience,
Yeah.
you and I have a very different account for fatherhood. My parents are still together, and a pretty rare thing, to be honest.
Yeah.
Not a, yeah, they've been together since they're like 20, so pretty rare thing. Not to say that there hasn't been, like marital or like just stuff to work through, right, in relationships. And like everybody, right, it's not going to be a perfect relationship, but they're still together. And I think they're each other's best friends. You know, some days and other days, like get out of here. But
Yeah,
you know, in general, they're still really good with each other, and
yeah.
you know, pretty proud of them because there's, you know, going through a relationship, you know, it's really easy to run, man. Like, and that's kind of like what I've done in most of my relationships. Like, as soon as I see something I didn't like, see ya, you know.
Mm.
And but yeah, so like for so I asked you if he's a man, your dad's a man, and
Uh-huh.
so you said no in the perspective of what it means to you for
Uh-huh.
your life. I bet your dad thinks he's a man, but maybe why do you think he could think he's a man?
Well, he probably thinks he's a man because see, he probably thinks he's a man because he has a car. He probably has a place to stay, so he's probably providing for himself in some shady way.
He's gone to prison or jail as well.
Yeah, yeah, but I'm a and right now, last time I checked, I saw on Facebook he's got like some housing inspection business now, some shady thing going on there. I'm sure it's some shady thing, and he has a wife, I think now. So he probably thinks he's a man because he has a wife and a home. But it's like, nah, dude, you're not a man because you have just because you have the stuff. You you uh, you put aside this.
So if he has a wife and he has a kid and he's
Mm,
there for that family,
yeah.
is he not a man?
Well, I don't think he has a kid.
Well, let's just pretend he does in this scenario, right?
Yeah.
So for you, because of what happened with you and him, in your eyes, he's not a man. And I know
Mm.
I know, you know, this is kind of a tough conversation, right?
Nah, it's good.
But you know, so if he starts a family and a new life with other people, and
Hmm.
let's say he has a kid now, and he's actually there for the kid, is he a man now?
I mean, look, people can change. I truly believe that. Obviously, I'm a believer in God, so people can change. But again, like if you're you always have to man. I think real men will make a wrong right. If I did you wrong, we're gonna make it right, or we're gonna come to some type of agreement or peace. We'll make peace with that situation. We'll work that out. So
Have
no stone left unturned, basically.
Have you ever? And I'm not, you know, trying to defend your
No,
dad or
it's good. I
anything.
like this. Is
So
good.
have you ever been in the wrong?
Uh huh.
Well, I'm gonna say yes. I know you have.
Yeah.
But have you ever been in the wrong and you were so embarrassed to actually talk about, you know, why you were in that space or apologize, you know,
Yes,
um,
I have.
to where you couldn't talk, you
Yes.
know, and I don't know if that's the situation.
Oh
If, no, with your dad.
no.
Um, but what if it was, you know, what if he wants to, you know, apologize for those things and make amends or whatever, but he's just too, he thinks he let you down too much and maybe he's reflected or whatever.
I would agree with you. I would say yes, that's a real possibility. Because I think there are men out there that, especially when you have kids so young, you're scared to be a father. I mean, I feel like I had my son young, which I had him at 22, I think, something like that. Yeah. But anyways, that's still like some people say that's not even that young. But anyways,
Shit,
like
nowadays that you're basically a baby having a kid that young. Like I think the average for
oh, I was 23. I just turned 23.
yeah, I think the average for people having kids nowadays is like 30, 35.
Yeah,
Like
and
it's
that's most people. But
yeah.
the thing is like I think when men have kids young, they usually they run away from the girl or whatever because they're scared to have kids, be a father, yada yada. And I would say yeah, you have a point if I never met him later in life, and I did. I met him later in life when years went by, and he had opportunities to be that person. Say if I never met him to this day, and I saw he was doing well, whatever, and maybe he wants to like whatever, like in his mind, have his own peace with it and grow up or whatever.
I I would be really curious. So whenever we get some kind of a following and people actually
Yeah.
listening to this podcast, I mean,
Yeah.
we're just doing these for fun, but
Yeah.
I'd be really curious, if people put in the comments some kind of scenario with their mom or dad where we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about men, so
Yeah.
preferably dad. What situation have they put you through, and when did the line get crossed of where they're not a man anymore? What,
Yeah, like a child
because
has.
like your perspective, like everybody's perspective is going to be a little different. Obviously, if your parent in general disowns you and doesn't put any effort, I mean, that's just that's yeah, you get the man card taken away, but you also get the decent human being. I will say that there's a caveat though, and maybe a few. So, if let's say your mom was like raped or something, or not you, just in general, right?
Mm.
Raped, or just, they thought that they weren't ready in life because they wanted to become a doctor, whatever this crazy scenario is, right? So you can look at it from both sides, like, well, they played with fire, so now they need to deal with it. And other cases, what if uh, this lady becoming a doctor or something is way better for the society net than her having a shitty life taking care of the kid, kind of a thing. I know I know when I was young and being crazy, uh, played with fire a lot.
Mm.
And it's amazing that I have not had any kids. But you know, I definitely used to think, plan B, uh, abortion, you know, that kind of stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
I think now that I've gone through like this like journey thing, I definitely don't see it that way. I see like if you play with fire, you need to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really one of my buddies, I'll say his name, Cody. Cody, wherever you are, Cody. But no, he went to Vegas and had a good time, and
Yeah.
somebody he liked somebody there and had a good time with him, and then they kept on having a good time back at his place in California.
Uh-huh.
And they threw the dice too many times, and now they have a kid. And I didn't actually know this. I was talking to him the other day, but
Mm-hmm.
apparently when you're at the hospital, I don't know if this is a California thing or our country or what, but
Mm-hmm.
when you, and I don't know if they asked you, so I guess we'll see. But when the female is having the kid, I guess they ask the dad, do you want to waive your rights and give, all the rights to the mom, or do you want to be part of the kid's life? And I've never heard that. But,
Mm.
he, for whatever his reasons are, he's part of the life, and he's trying to figure things out with the mom. They're living together, and she moved from
Mm-hmm.
another state to be over here.
Mm.
And it's one of those situations where it's just like a rough start. Maybe it was meant to be, because he's not like my, he's not even related, to be honest, but he's like my little brother to me. And
Mm.
he's kind of following in my crazy ass footsteps. I think he actually got wilder than I did, if that's such a thing. But I finally caught up with him, and I think in my mind,
Mm.
eventually, I think this will be seen as the step that turned him into a man,
Mm.
because now he said, okay, well, I rolled the dice. I'm going to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know he's not happy right now. he's
Yeah.
he's working. He's a rough, relationship. Who wants a screaming baby in the house, kind of a thing, right? But he is manning up, and he's figuring it out.
Well, from just having this conversation right now, it sounds like we both agree there's manly traits. And why do we take pride in being a man is because it's hard. And I think that is the key thing is if anybody can be a man, then they would all do it. Like my father, like, you know.
Don't you know? that being a stay-at-home mom is the hardest job in the world.
Well, we're not talking about women, but that's a different thing. But being a man,
Another episode.
yeah, we'll hit that on a whole nother podcast.
I'll have to have a single mom here.
But having manly traits and being a man and taking manly actions is hard. Really hard.
It takes endurance and willpower.
It does.
For many different aspects.
And you have to, it's almost like I don't want to screw the word up.
So
Chivalry?
yeah, so being a man nowadays, okay, get your ass to work OT to make more money.
Mm-hmm.
Don't bitch about it.
Mm-hmm.
Come home, do whatever you need to do to fix shit around the house. Why would you pay for something if you can do it yourself? Are you less of a man because you can't fix the thing? Mental health. Screw your mental health. You're not allowed to have feelings. I mean, progressivism is pushing to have feelings, cry, and all this shit. But in general, a man does not cry. In fact, I've had many times in my life, more recent, where something is frustrating and I'm just holding it down, and somebody can see that and they're just like, why don't you just let yourself feel and let it out or whatever? I'm like, because I can't. I'm a fucking guy. Guys don't do that. Men don't do that. That's maybe it's toxic from back in the day. I don't know, but men are not supposed to show feelings. They're supposed to be steadfast in the face of anything, and that's if that wasn't the case, there'd be so many scenarios where things would be all bent out of shape because somebody didn't stand up for this, somebody didn't stand up for that, kind of a thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said when you were talking about the cultures and stuff, like Native Americans, they would literally, all the men would go and fight and all the women would stay back. The tribe, they were the providers. And so it's kind of like that all the way back from then to now. That's carried over to now. So I think it's hard to say what is a man, but I think we judge a man or a male on having manly traits. So the more manly traits you have or that are stacked, manly cards you can have per se, I think that would make you more manly. I think it's hard to justify, like, if you actually sit and think about when you become a man. I don't know if anybody can actually tell you when that is. If you know what I mean. Like, I think it's hard to justify or explain.
Yeah, sorry, I was getting a text. Yeah, and there's there's one more big thing with this, and I know we talked about like depression the other day and stuff like this, but men, middle-aged men, especially white, have a very high suicide rate, and it's because of this very thing. You're supposed to be the man. You're supposed to go to work. You're supposed to do all these things. You're supposed to not complain about them. And it's to the point where, people just, I would say not black and white, but overall, don't care about your problems. Like, you're not allowed to vent. And I've been in a space before where I needed to, I forget if we talked about this on the other one, but where I needed to reach out and see if I can get help, kind of a thing. And they turned me down. They basically said, no, like, you're fine, or you're good enough. And you almost have to be like actively doing something, to get help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's...
Well, see, this is what frustrates me about the education system. It's like they teach you how to be a good worker, quote unquote slave, but they don't teach you how to, hey, when you get out of high school, whether you go to college or something, this is how you're gonna have bills. This is what bills are, or this is what you need to save for your retirement. They don't teach you any of the stuff. You're not taught like life skills or manly skills or like you used to, like, back in the day, there would be, you'd have a lot of shop classes and all this stuff for men to provide and take. But now it's like they teach you math, which I think math's great, but like English and like language, it's like I just feel like our education system bringing up the young men or women is a failure because you're not really teaching people how to be successful. Because if you think about it from a perspective of America as a whole, well, what you want is good slaves. You want them to be good workers. Go out,
Yeah.
find a job, and that's going to be your life. But it's like I'm 29. I didn't start investing in like my own future or whatever, even thinking about that till like 2 years ago.
Did it sooner than I did.
And that
In lifetime.
and it's like and it sucks because if I would have did it right out of high school, like even just putting $20 into a index fund every month, I mean I'd have like
Yeah.
you know.
So, I wanna end this on a thought provoking thing. So we're gonna give our answers, and there's very much a reason why I already know, or I'm gonna pick mine.
Okay.
That had to do with everything that you just said.
Yeah.
But when you think of a man, and the audience, chat, whatever,
Yeah.
when you think of a man who is like not physique, I mean, like when you just think of like, man, that is a man, who is that? Who? It could be anybody famous. It could be your husband. It could be your whatever. But who is a man, and what makes him that man? So I have mine. Tyler, you go first.
My buddy's dad, for sure. The one who works 7 days a week.
That guy. Yeah.
Yeah. He's instantly like, yeah.
So mine is Mike Rowe.
Mike Rowe.
Dirty Jobs.
Ah,
So Mike
I
Rowe.
like that.
Everybody knows Mike Rowe.
Uh-huh.
And he is a guy, blue collar guy. He tried to get into acting. Yada yada yada. He finally found his way for TV series for blue collar jobs. And the rest of his family was hardcore blue collar. But hey Mike, if you ever listen to this, sorry, but it sounds like the way your dad was talking about you, you're kind of a pussyfoot. But you found your way to show everybody the blue collar way, and I mean that with all the love. But Mike Rowe is showing all these jobs that almost nobody wants to do, right?
Yeah.
And these guys, just having a job doesn't mean you're a man, right? But these guys are going to do these things, kind of like you're talking about, the 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And, they're shoveling pig shit. They're swimming in sewage. You know, they're doing all these things that like most people do not want to do, but they're doing it to provide for their family. And it's amazing to see the willpower, perseverance, all that kind of stuff for the men that are dedicated to their family and loved ones. And that to me is what really makes the man.
Yeah, I mean, for all the blue collar workers out there, just know you're not alone. Like there is a lot of men, myself even, that we get, we feel like we're not doing enough or what we're doing is not worth it, but it is, and you are important. We are important, and I think we are becoming more important, especially going in the future, because a lot of people don't want to do the jobs we're doing, working hard, working with our hands, building things. So yeah, you're not alone.
Yeah, and Tyler definitely hit something on the nail for me is saying you're not, or thinking that you're not enough. No matter how successful I've gotten, I've always thought that I'm not enough.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like I don't know if it's how society puts pressure on us, but like being real with feelings and stuff, like it just feels like it's never enough.
Dude, I feel like a failure all the time.
Yeah.
That's a whole that's a whole different thing.
We'll have a failure podcast another time, but
We'll
everybody, if you like I said, if you can, comment who is your man, who's a man in your life, or that you can think of, and why, and also take a second to appreciate them if you actually know them. It's blue collar guys, man. They do a lot of, and everybody does hard work that actually works hard, but blue collar guys, man, it's they go through some shit.
Yeah.
So, all right, everybody.
Thank you.